Hey everybody, it's me again, Bonnie from Joy Unicycle, and here with me today are movie fan from the movie universe,
Hi.
Joshua Oro.
Hey everybody.
All right, and today we're going to do a more pleasant live stream compared to the last one that we did. So, today is critics agree to disagree, and basically what this is everybody's going to disagree on something or other, any form of media or a book. Oh, and we've got Jonathan from Chase Watch joining us. Yay!
Hey guys, as
All right.
usual, it's great to be here.
And it's great to have you too. So basically, what this live stream is critics agree to disagree, and the rules of this particular live stream for us and for anybody joining us on the live chat is
Hey.
is to say hi to Georgie.
No.
Hi. But also,
Hey,
the rule
Georgie.
is if there's a critic that you disagree with, that is okay. Name the critic, name the review, name the situation, name anything. But when you do, please be no matter how passionate you are about the project that was done, please be civil about the person because they have feelings. A project will not have feelings, but a person will. And that's always been my rule whenever it came to reviewing anything, whether good or bad. Hey, Sky Stub.
Oh, hey, bro.
All right. So with that,
I see we got Sky Stub here.
So with that, I'd like to start with a critic that I disagree with, and which one it was. Okay, Siskel and Ebert is a pretty obvious one. Okay, I disagree with their review of Hook. I get it. It may not be Steven Spielberg's most popular film, but I don't agree with the kids being boring. I don't agree with Dustin Hoffman's Hook kidding it. I don't agree. I don't agree with the no stakes for Peter Pan because I mean Ebert did bring up an interesting point when he said that it seemed like that the director was trying to bring out his childhood or retell his childhood as an adult, but in a different way, which is unique and interesting. But in all honesty, I think they missed the
Hook is a
point
really good
about
movie.
this movie.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to retell the story of Peter Pan as long as you keep to the heart of it. And I felt like Hook did that. I mean, I do agree, however, on the fact that Neverland does look like a lot of sets from the play, from the Broadway play, instead of an actual Neverland. But I don't think it's the worst thing about it. I actually think that this movie is criminally underrated.
Hey, bro.
And it was Robin Williams' second time in Neverland.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yep.
I think he was really good as
And
Peter Pan.
you know that originally Michael Jackson was going to be in it, and that.
Considering how he really
No,
loved Peter Pan and all that, it makes sense.
But I think Robin Williams did better because he carried the persona of Peter Pan in real life. And you could kind of see that in his performance. And Dustin Hoffman as Hook, he's easily my favorite. So thumbs down to your review, Siskel and Ebert. But thank you for some of the input. And to the Lost Boys, bangarang. You guys were awesome, especially Rufio.
Yeah.
All right. Chris Tiger Harris. Hi. So what's this
Who
about?
doesn't love Rufio?
Fire Lord Ozai doesn't. I had to make an Avatar joke.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, he's one of my favorite characters.
I think MIO is Siskel and Ebert.
Yeah, that's a
talking
good
about
joke.
Robin Williams, and the last act is like stuff we've seen him do lots before. And the first different, more serious for Robin. Yeah, and it was how I did not believe that he was the genie when Papa told me, because I'm like, no, no. So, who wants to go next on what they disagree with, or which critic they disagree with?
Let me think on that for a minute.
And it could be
I am too going to
online
have
or
to
even with each
disagree
other.
with what Siskel and Ebert said about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie. They gave it a bad review.
Oh.
I mean, seriously. Just because it's based on a TV show with cheap CGI? I mean, seriously. Come on, are you kidding?
Yeah, and I'm going to piggyback off of that one, Jonathan. I do want to bring up an excellent point on that subject. So many people have criticized the CGI that was used back in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, 1995, and some are even comparing it to the 2017 film. And the fact is, you can't really do that too well. You can definitely say, like, oh man, we've come a long way since then, which very few people do. Half the problem is everyone goes like, oh, that is so cheap CGI. It's so pathetic. And it's like, that was good enough for the time. And, granted, they worked on a budget. And let's not forget, to get Jurassic Park quality, you need to do a lot of work, a lot of rendering. And, they had a lot to do for that movie. So, yeah, that's literally like, how do I put this? I mean, I guess it could be that proverbial the pot calling the kettle black kind of thing, but I'm not sure if that fits. Either way, you just can't really compare them like people, and especially YouTubers, like to do. And, one of these days I need to make a full video on that one of these days, but I'll just leave it at that. Because, again, it's night and day difference. You can't just say it's garbage just because it was decades ago when it was nothing like it is now. That's just not fair.
Yeah.
Now,
what year was that movie made, by the way?
the first one, 1995.
Okay,
2 years after Jurassic Park.
I could kind of see
Yeah, that
them
was-
complaining about the CGI, but at the same time, that's not what makes a movie. And
Nope. And it wasn't. That's the truth.
Sky's Dub, 1995 Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie was better than the 2017. And I will say Hercules' voice disappointed.
Oh, yeah, I get you.
Man.
I'm sorry if I didn't do it right.
That's okay.
But yeah.
Well, at least
I can kind of see
also...
where they're coming from, but at the same time, it sounds like you got to be more of a fan to
Yeah, it's true. You'd have to
I
be
would
a
say
fan to
that
really
also that the 1995 movie of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, is 10 times better than Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, I would say.
I don't want to think about that right now, man. We'll cover that for a later date, seriously. But at the same time, yeah, you'd have to be a fan to really kind of get it. And at the same time, like I said, you can't really just compare those kind of special effects from decades ago and say one's better than the other. It can be said that it's a little dated, but that's about it.
So say if you weren't a fan, and you were just seeing it as a movie, which they were at least, how would you feel about it on its own?
Well, considering well, that's going to be difficult for me because I'm a huge mega fan. We all know that. But trying to look past that, considering how the way I see it, CGI helps make movies possible, but the problem is people rely on it way too much for certain things. And I would say that although I would go as far as to say that maybe it hasn't aged 100% well, but it's still a lot better than what we got out of the remake just because of how things turned out there. And we'll leave it at that because then Power Ranger mode would be kicking in for me. So
by the way, anybody in the live chat, if you've got a critic that you disagree with, I feel free to comment and let us know which critic and which review it was. And it could be from any media. It
Oh,
could even be from YouTube.
you know, I
And
got
you
one.
can disagree with us too.
I got one, and it's not Power Ranger related. I gotta say this again. I just gotta, because
Mhm.
I remember how all the critics were saying that Lawrence of Arabia is such a great, fantastic movie. That was 3 hours of my life I'm never getting back. I was bored to tears.
At
I
least
almost
they
fell
didn't.
asleep.
At least they didn't praise Battlefield Earth.
Ugh. Nobody will praise that. No one.
At least nobody in their right mind, other than the 3% on the Rotten Tomatoes. Like, what was wrong with you? I
Who knows? Maybe they were being nice. Who knows? I don't know.
Too nice. But I think Lawrence of Arabia, the costumes at least are impressive, and the
Oh yeah,
landscape.
sure.
Even if the story was, I don't know. I've never seen it.
Well, we reviewed it, and I know you researched it when we did that, when we
Mhm.
brought up most inaccurate movies. But for me, from what I saw, all I saw was a British officer wandering through the desert with Arabs, wandering back through the desert with Arabs. He dressed up like an Arab, wandering back through the desert, wandering back through the desert, dressed up like a British officer, wandering here from the desert, wandering there from the desert. And this went on for 3 hours, and there's some banter going on, and only two battle scenes in all those 3 hours. Now you see why I hate
think you
that
get
so
the
much.
picture, movie fan.
Yeah, I know.
Jonathan, you have somebody you disagree with?
Let's see. Well, I'm gonna have to disagree with
It's a riddle, bro.
Bob Showiaks about when he reviewed Batman: Mystery of the Batwoman. Well, it's been a while since I've seen his reviews. All I can say is that I enjoy the film for what it is because of its jazzy music, good performances, and great action sequences. And it's my introduction to the character of Batwoman.
That's fair. Chris has got one. Nostalgia critic thoughts on Treasure Planet. Honestly, I don't think the space setting is distracting, and I really think it's a Disney classic. I sadly have not seen that movie yet, and I need to. But it
I've
was
seen it
really
a few
cool.
times, but still, it's hard to believe that that film is Disney's third time adapting that book.
Third.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. The Muppets, and then one
The
with Bobby
1950
Driscoll,
version.
and a shout out to Bobby Driscoll.
What a good movie.
Yep.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. I have seen that movie, believe it or not. And, at first when I saw the trailers, I was like, to the idea of mixing space with a classic sea fairy tale. But then I saw it on Cartoon Network, if I remember correctly. Yeah. And I actually enjoyed it. It was actually pretty good. Very original, very creative.
Despite the fact that some things don't always work. For example,
no.
The idea of wind being in space.
Yeah. I never figured that out either.
Sails being solar panels. I mean, that's pretty clever still.
Oh, yeah, very much so. And I'll admit, I did love the little Star Trek pun where the doctor says, "Jim, I'm a doctor, not a physician." Well, I am a doctor, but not that kind of a doctor.
Not a medical doctor, we get it.
Yeah.
And actually,
that in this movie you got Tim Curry as one of the characters.
Sky's Dub. I actually like that movie personally, but it was hard to pull off. It is, and when you're adapting in a different setting, it's kind of tricky. But I think that Disney did their best with adapting it in space. So kudos to them. And to be fair, I don't think the nostalgia critic necessarily hated it, but he didn't. No, he didn't hate it.
Talking about the Disney version, I thought you were talking about the Muppets version.
The Disney
version.
He
I need to rewatch
the Muppets. But the Disney animated one, there's some things that they could have done better, but for the most part, I thought it was a really good. I mean, it
Yeah.
seems like a really good idea.
And also, one of the reasons why it bombed, if I remember correctly, it was that it was ahead of its time back in
Yeah.
2002.
It
That's
was.
fair. And the whales in space, LOL, didn't make sense, but the story and the relationship between Hawkins and Silver is the best I have seen for a relationship between those two.
That's true. If I remember
Definitely gonna
correctly-
have to see it now.
If I remember
Yeah.
correctly, that's pretty darn close to the book in that a sense, you know?
I mean, yes, Silver may be the villain, but he still acts like a pretty good mentor / father figure that Jim never had.
Yep, that's true. That's true.
And of course, a really good friend.
Yep.
Joshua Oro, or do you have one?
Well, okay, this is going to be pretty complicated, but there's one certain guy who I disagree with pretty much a lot. Okay.
You're
Will
good.
never become Animat. I mean,
Hmm.
he's been giving a lot of steals of garbages to films that I kind of like and will sometimes stand up for no matter what anyone says. I mean, I will defend Legends of Oz because I have a personal history with that film. I will stand up for Hoodwink 2. I will, even though I do agree that him putting Tentacolino as the worst animated sequel, I agree with. And I still pray that my Italian relatives don't know about it.
Yeesh.
And another film that he gave a steal of garbage to that I will defend are the Hotel Transylvania movies.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get into those. I don't know what it is. I mean, I like the first one to a point, but I just can't get into them. I don't hate them. I don't know.
I haven't seen the full of the first one yet, but the first two actually looked very, very intriguing, and the storytelling pacing was really good, and Adam Sandler made a pretty good Dracula. I mean, and
Yeah.
you wouldn't expect that, and
And at least it's better than his other animated film, Eight Crazy Nights.
Oh, I don't wanna
the
think about
less
that.
about that, the better.
That was
Well, still,
insulting.
that's a good one. Another positive thing. Like, at least it's better than that. You know,
Yeah, and well, to be fair, Animat did. I mean, he ultimately ended up, in a way, complimenting the first movie, but yeah, that's not saying much because he claimed that each movie was getting worse and worse, and the
He
last two I might agree with. I
But
mean,
he
except
compared it
for-
to Ice Age, and yet that franchise has gotten dumber.
Oh boy.
and that's going to bring me to something that I also disagree with Hannah Matt on. I don't think Buck's Wild Adventure is the worst Ice Age. I think the worst Ice Age is number 5.
Okay,
I-
I agree too.
because-
with that.
I mean, I will.
Glad I
will
didn't
have to
see that
defend
movie.
Animation is a step backwards with the with Buck's Wild Adventure, and the voice acting for the Herd is also a step backwards.
Hmm.
But otherwise, I think that the plot's a really good idea. But the biggest thing that they should have done, I mean, is let Blue Sky have control over the movie like they deserved, and not have Disney parade it around like it's theirs, because it's not yours, Disney. I don't care if you own Blue Sky now or
Nope.
you smashed it to the ground. This was Blue Sky's movie first. They had the idea first. I think Ice Age should have stopped after 3. Kind of got dull to me after 3. Yeah. Though I'll say that
Yeah.
dull is too nice to describe 4 and 5, in my opinion.
Mhm.
'Cause
Yeah, I'm sorry, but the pirate thing, really?
what's
Yeah.
Pirates doing in an Ice Age
Especially
movie?
animal versions of pirates.
Well, either way, yeah. And I just could not get behind that. I mean, movie 1 is the only one I saw, to be honest. Movie 2, I saw where it was going, and I could see that it might have been okay, but I just couldn't go with it. But movie 3, you know, to me, it was a Journey to the Center of the Earth ripoff.
ripoff.
Jonathan? You're
Jonathan, is that
echoing.
you echoing? Yeah.
Okay, I'm back.
You're,
Sorry about
you're-
that.
The
Yeah.
Way, I could say I do have a few good points of movie 3 because some of the comedy, some of the sequences, their characters.
Huh? Did anybody catch that?
Huh? Did anybody catch that?
Oh man, I'm
Jonathan,
echoing.
the
through.
feedback-
guys?
I'm echoing through.
Can you guys get me?
No, sorry.
No.
I did a second ago.
I did a second ago.
Where
Oh,
the heck-
Okay, that's weird.
Somehow you're echoing us, Jonathan. I don't know how you're doing it.
That's weird. I'm gonna have to restart.
No problem. We're here.
Yeah, boy, I think my bro's right about that one.
There is one movie I gradually despise is Dragon Ball Evolution.
Yeah.
Should never have been made.
Nope. Nope. Everyone agrees on that one. Literally, even the critics agree that it's garbage. So
Except for the 14% on Rotten Tomatoes somehow. Or something like that.
I could make a gesture on that right now, but that would be rude. So I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna drink water instead.
Yeah. Here's one I disagree with. This is a YouTuber named Jello Apocalypse. He's known for his naming Disney movies in 10 words or less. Okay, Jonathan. So one of the films that he one of the films he gave a strongly negative review to was The Rescuers Down Under. And
Really?
here's what he said. But it's an underrated classic. Too bad it sucks.
What?
That is one of the greatest Disney movies, bar none. And Jonathan, you're still echoing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm back now.
You're still echoing. Jonathan.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Something with the feedback, I think.
Gee.
Hey, wait a minute.
Hey, wait a
Jon-
minute, Jonathan.
Do you have
the
the volume on your computer so you could hear us?
So you can hear us.
I don't know about that, but I'll try.
Well, what I mean is, try and see if are you. Let me think about this for a minute. Are you? Shoot, I can't think of it right now. I'm not hearing an echo. That's a good sign.
He's on mute.
Oh, well.
Hmm.
I wonder if his microphone's too close to us or something. That's why I prefer a headset. So I don't know.
That's fair.
Yeah. Let me think.
So,
I could.
yeah, what I
Okay.
disagree with.
Is it working now?
Oh,
The echo is still on, Jonathan.
I'm afraid so, Jonathan. Wait a minute. Let me try some. 1 2 1 2 testing.
Oh, man.
hello.
Sorry.
Well, I didn't hear an echo. You still there, Jonathan?
Yeah, I'm still here.
I think we got it.
Okay.
Fingers
So far,
crossed.
so good. So, what I
Okay.
disagree with with Jello Apocalypse about Rescuers Down Under being the second worst Disney movie. Yes, that's how he lists it. And he says that every character is annoying in there, and
What?
I get a couple of characters perhaps, but this movie is. This movie was exciting, adventurous, and expanded on an idea that should have been, in a way, mediocre. I mean,
Yeah.
Rescuers is is really good, and I mean, quiet, depressing, and occasionally, I mean, and very adventurous. But this takes it a step further, and the animation's ambitious, which he agrees with at least. So kudos on that. I, but yeah, somehow he thinks that this movie's even worse than Chicken Little. No,
How could that be worse than Chicken Little?
I mean,
mean,
because the character, I mean, because the characters in here were likable, they were well established, and
Mhm.
I mean, who did not look at that eagle scene and wish that they could fly on a giant eagle as a kid?
Totally.
Yeah, and who did not well up in happiness during that moment?
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
It is an underrated classic, though. And I
Yeah,
do remember back in the day, there was a great hype for it, but then after everybody got, and for maybe a few years or so, people were watching the tapes like crazy. Then all of a sudden, forgotten.
yeah,
Sad but true.
well,
yeah. But the
Jonathan
reason,
says he's going to have to join us by text.
yeah. Well, anyway, the
Uh.
reason why I did not see that in theaters is because I was a newborn at the time.
I'm not
I-
sure if it was at
I had
theaters,
it
to
on
be honest.
VHS.
I mean, I remember them talking about it being in theaters, but I don't remember it ever coming up. So I always wonder if it was a direct-to-video
It
direct-to-video
wasn't
type.
direct to video.
Oh,
It was
it was
theaters.
in theaters.
It bombed. I mean, it was highly critically acclaimed, but it bombed because not a lot of people saw it at the time.
Oh, that's too bad. Well, that's good to
Like I
hear.
said-
I always figured it was in theaters, but nobody ever talks about it being in theaters.
Yeah.
And now I understand why. So
So a little timeout. So for everybody who's wondering, Jonathan has said that he's going to join us on the chat because, well, unfortunately, the camera work is not going well for him. So
yeah,
I'm sorry about that.
yeah.
All right.
Let's see. Who wants to go next?
Chris Tiger has one.
Hmm.
I disagree with Siskel and Ebert putting Return to Oz as one of the worst movies of 1985, and how it was too scary for kids. And it is scary, yes, but I don't know if it was that scary. I know when I first saw it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to agree with you, Chris, because I mean I saw the movie. Yeah, it's scary, but
Mm.
it
No
combines
surprise, since
I mean,
that
it
film was
combines
from the 80s.
two of the sequel books. So, in a kind of minor way, it was a little faithful to the Frank Baum series, but
Yeah.
I mean, in the way that Judy Garland's was not quite.
Nope.
I mean, it's a classic. It's a classic, but I mean, and we talk about that movie. I mean, Return to Oz being scary. Judy Garland's Wizard of Oz was scary.
Yeah, I mean, the parts involving the witch and the wizard were pretty dark.
Papa said that the monkeys and the trees freaked him out when he was a kid.
And
So,
the idea of Return to Oz being scary, I mean, that's not surprising since that
No.
was from the 80s. But
and let's face it, L. Frank Baum came up with pretty scary ideas in a way.
Yeah.
On occasion messed up too. But just made them very kid friendly. So that if anything was scary, it could not hurt Dorothy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely disagree with Siskel and Ebert on that one also.
Yeah. Let's
But
see.
I can understand why they would be concerned about little kids watching it. But I
Well,
don't think that's
yeah.
a reason to give it a thumbs down.
Yeah. I'll bring up a classic right now. Not
Mhm.
exactly a critic, but a YouTuber.
Mhm.
Cinema Sins.
That kind
My
of
worst enemy. Yep, Cinema Sins, my worst enemy. Boy, I remember bashing them years ago, and I gotten a lot of flack for it too. I'm not kidding. I gotten a few terrible remarks for saying my opinion on the way they handle things. Because anybody who's ever seen any of their videos, they bash movies in the worst way. I mean, if you think the Nostalgia Critic does a serious job of bashing movies, he's got nothing on these guys, because the way they do it, they make fun of everything in the worst possible way. And they talk about good movies, bad movies, anything indifferent. And they just go with it. They tell how it's all garbage, and they nitpick at the stupidest little things. And
But some of them, they do make a good point.
well, yeah, there's a few. I remember one very big exception, and that would be Godzilla 2014. What they did in that one, they just basically stated the same complaints that everybody else did for that movie. Literally the same complaints. So for that one, I couldn't argue with it because I had the same complaints on how that movie was handled. Like how they were constantly teasing us with Godzilla without actually giving us more of what we wanted. Now, I've said it before, granted, they use CG to bring him to life, but, what's a Godzilla movie without more Godzilla? But, you got to have people involved. It can't just be all him. It doesn't work that way. It's worked that way for, well, probably a good 60 years now, well over 60 years. And, it'll continue to work that way if you still balance out between Godzilla and what somebody once called the human element, because it goes hand in hand in one way or another. Now, there's been a lot of complaints about, how they teased us, and I complained so much about that first appearance of Godzilla, that beautiful entrance just thrown away because of the way they did it. And they called that one out too. Oh boy, we're seeing Godzilla. And then we see the kid, and oh no, we're not going to see him at all. No argument here. No argument here. That was a beautiful entrance, and they just threw it away. And last I checked, that director has not been making any Godzilla films, so I think that says a lot. So, yeah.
Well, to be fair, I mean, each of us in a different way would be making our own cinema sins. I mean,
Yeah.
in a way, I mean,
Well, yeah, but not the way these guys do
but
it.
yeah, I mean, they could do better on a few things. And
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm still waiting for them to pick apart Pan 2015.
Yeah.
And well, they did say one thing that I was waiting for somebody to say about Miss Peregrine's Peculiar a Home for
Oh,
Peculiar
yeah.
Children, which was when the twins revealed their Medusa faces. He said, "Let me say for the a set of number times, why didn't they do this at the beginning of this fight? 10 extra
Yeah.
cents for all the times they should have done something sooner."
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, true.
I remember when watching that movie, I was like, why didn't they do anything? I
Yeah.
think Cinema Sins lost respect for me. It's like fine to say, oh, Orlando Bloom has his Lord of the Rings tattoo in POTC, but I felt like,
Pirates of the Caribbean.
oh yeah, but I felt like they tried to find logic in the movies that are not
Yeah.
really about.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's another
That's
thing.
fair.
That's another thing. And, granted, they seem to have turned over a slight new leaf because not too long ago they created Cinema Wins, which is talking about the good things in movies. It's the same
Another
company.
YouTuber.
I don't think so. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that was another YouTuber that was combating the Cinema Sins. I don't think
Well,
they're
if it
part of
is-
Channel Awesome.
No, Channel Awesome isn't part of CinemaSins.
Cinema Sins is part of Channel Awesome.
They are?
Or I think so.
I
I
thought that was the
forget.
Nostalgia Critic.
Anybody who knows about it, just let me know.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. But yeah, with CinemaSins, the way they bash things, and I remember when they bashed the Wizard of Oz, constantly saying, "Why doesn't the witch just kill her? Why doesn't the witch just kill her?" I mean, really?
That is a fair point.
Yeah, but at the
Get
same
rid of your
time,
threat. But then again, it does explain later that she can't kill Dorothy without taking the shoes off first.
that, and let's not forget in the books, which they were trying to be, well, work around, so to speak. Don't forget, there's no mention of the Wicked Witch of the West until they go to try to get rid of her. That's the truth. So
That does remind me one sin that I really did not like from them when they did the Wizard of Oz.
uh-oh.
Sitting Judy Garland for sounding like a 40-year-old.
Oh no. That's just wrong.
She sounded like that anyways. I mean, that was one of the biggest unique things about Judy Garland. I get you're trying to be funny, but it doesn't work like that. that was a no. That sin was overboard. Channel Awesome is different from Cinema Sins. Okay, thank you. My bad.
Yeah. Let's see. Joshua, you got anything?
Well, there was also another certain thing that was in the books that was not in the live action film that I should have brought up one of my videos. Like, okay, as soon as Dorothy arrives in Oz, the Witch of the North, who's not played by Glinda, gave Dorothy a kiss that would protect her from harm. So,
Yeah. True. And I know a lot of people have been putting Glinda down as the bad guy in the 1939 classic.
Kind
no,
of,
he's just playing both the Good Witch's roles.
but I will defend what one of the critics said about it. I forget the name, but he did a books versus movie for a while.
It wasn't Jaime Tude?
No, this was somebody else. I might have to mention the name later. But basically, he pretty much had a huge problem with the witches being Glinda, both the North and the South Witch, because it's like, okay, the Witch of the North gives Dorothy the kiss that guarantees her safety, and Glinda, the Witch of the South, knows the power of the slippers. So by combining these two characters into one, and she knows all along the power of these slippers, and yet sends Dorothy out onto a dangerous road with no guarantee of her safety, just to teach her a lesson that she's already learned in the movie. Okay, let's see. Okay, so the YouTube name for this reviewer is BandGeek8408.
That's a mouthful.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Jace watched disagree on Tim Burton's movie adaptation of the book Charlie and the Chocolate Factory 2005. I enjoy it despite a few hiccups. I get it, yeah. And
still not a fan.
I mean, and I do enjoy it. I don't like the ending, but I don't like the ending, but yeah.
Oh, Jonathan, don't bring that up, please.
Oh, gosh. I mean, it's at least not worse than the Tom and Jerry crossover of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It doesn't exist, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't exist.
It's like Indiana Jones 4 and Star Trek 5. Never existed.
Actually, trust me. This
I
movie makes those movies look like legit sequels.
Yeah.
Because that movie is just pure awful. The acting's awful. The animation's awful. But
very bad.
Yeah, the Tim Burton version's actually pretty good, and I get what Johnny Depp's doing with his performance, but at the same time, I mean, he's being childlike and a lost child, basically. But I don't think that Johnny Depp was the right person to capture that.
I don't think so either.
In my honest opinion. But the other things in there are impressive. I love the effects, and the kids are phenomenal.
The sets are great too, and even the Oompa Loompa songs their lyrics stick close to the book versions.
Yeah, and I love the styles the different styles of those songs. Sky's Dub. I like the I like the classic old Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory better. Yes.
Yeah.
Same here.
Me too. I do admire Tim Burton's use of technology, like having one guy play all the Oompa Loompas, and they just multiplied them. That was great. Mm-hmm. And yes,
and the squirrels effects. You got to admit that's impressive.
Yeah, and I'll admit using real chocolate instead of just dirt water, so to speak.
Actually, what they technically did was they had chocolate in that water, but chocolate and cream, but it's spoiled, so that when it came time to shoot the film, the entire chocolate room stank. Nobody liked it.
So
Oh,
that
I feel
could-
so sorry for poor Augustus Gloop. It's got to be horrible for him.
So that could explain one reason why Roald Dahl didn't like it.
Yeah. Wouldn't
Chris
doubt that.
Tiger, I think only thing I liked about the Johnny Depp Willy Wonka was some of the jokes I laughed at, like how a deeper set reacted to the singing puppets blowing up, but I preferred Gene. Yeah, I'd always prefer Gene, and unlike Gene, I don't think that the movie is disrespectful. It's another adaptation of the book.
Ooh, excuse me.
But I mean, and so in that sense, I kind of admire Tim Burton for trying to stick with the book, but also trying a few new directions. I just don't like all of the directions he went in. So in this case, I'd say it was a quote unquote remake, doing a few things right and wrong.
Hmm.
So you could say that.
Yeah.
All right, and well, here's something I'm going to disagree with Animat on.
Okay.
And yes, another Animat. So one of the things he talked about was what he considered some of the worst movies he's ever seen, or the worst live action adaptations of cartoons. And somehow, I mean, and Bratz the movie was somehow always number one, not only for worst live action adaptation, but worst movie he's ever seen. And somehow he considers it worse than, I mean, he said that he'd rather watch films like Where the Dead Go to Die or The Garbage Pail Kids rather than this film. How
Or
is that
More
even
or Food Fight or
possible?
Cloudy 2.
I mean, it's like, how is that even possible that Bratz is worse than Garbage Pail Kids? Like,
Especially
that's
considering the
not
series
even
wasn't much of anything to begin with. It really
I mean,
wasn't.
that movie is unpleasant to look at least with Bratz. I mean, I watched it and it was definitely one of the dumbest movies I've ever seen, but not the worst. I liked the costumes, and the girl playing the antagonist actually looked like she was giving her best for the performance, though not as much as the girl who played her sister. But other than that, I mean, the sets, the costumes, that was basically it. That's what the movie had going for it. With Garbage Pail Kids, nothing was pleasant to look at. Nothing.
No
And
way.
Where the Dead Go to Die, not only
Nightmare Fuel.
was nothing pleasant to look at, nothing was pleasant to hear.
Ugh.
So
Why'd you do that?
So, Animat, question. How are these two movies that are unpleasant to even look at worse or not worse than Bratz? I mean, I get it. The plot is terrible. The plot's a joke and the characters are all dumb, but really? These two movies are not worse?
Oh, I know what he's talking about. The Lone Ranger movie.
Crud.
Well, I know a lot of people have definitely made their hate comments on this movie, and rightfully so. So I don't know if we could add to that or should bother with it. Even the critics didn't think much of it. Like I said, Disney actually held back the fifth Pirates of the Caribbean movie because this movie stunk so bad that they knew if they released it now, no one would go watch it.
Though Doug Walker did give a few feeble defenses about the movie, and Doug Walker, by the way, is a nostalgia critic, so I'll go back and forth between saying it. And in his Disney-cember review, a few things that he said was, well, I mean, that if this movie came out before Pirates of the Caribbean, might be a little interesting, or it might have had a better chance. And also he I mean, he even pointed out one scene that he liked, which was really good storytelling, where it involved this prostitute who had a wooden leg. Even though she's got a great business, she says that the bad guy ruined her career. And um, the next shot shot shows her lying down on the couch with a picture right next to her of her as a ballerina, and you get why she wants revenge.
Hmm.
So visual storytelling.
Yeah.
Chris Tiger. Yeah, I love the Nostalgia Critic, but some of his reviews are I have to agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
He
I've still not,
overreacts.
well,
Well,
not
really
as much
exaggerate.
anymore.
Okay, yeah,
he's toned
exaggerates.
down.
Exaggerates, yeah.
But I think that's part of like getting or I think that's with him getting a little older or something like that. But
Well, that and don't forget the flack he got for when the word got out about how he treated people. That didn't help matters for him.
Mhm.
So I think he had to, do that. So
Yeah. Which how about I get into the next thing I'll disagree with him on? Monsters University. I think that's a good movie. I mean, the main problem he's ever had with that movie is that he says that it's every 80s college movie cliche, and I don't know, maybe I've not seen enough college movies cliches. So you guys tell me. All
there's
right.
a few million out there. I haven't seen Monster High. Yeah, Monster University. I haven't seen that. It didn't interest me. I don't know why. Because I think it was because for a sequel, I think we were all expecting, a follow up to what happened at the very end of the movie, Monster.
But we still
Monsters,
have
Inc.
Monsters at Work, which is a Disney Plus show, and
Well,
that was
yeah,
that makes a
that,
worthy sequel anyway.
that's
And
true.
and Doug Walker did say that that was a Disney sequel or that was a Pixar sequel he'd be interested in. But I mean, he did give Monsters University credit that the message at the very end is a very mature one, and he thinks that the movie was just made for that message. Since you haven't seen it, movie fan, I better not spoil it. But I will say that, I mean, the only thing I'll say is that this movie came out as I was entering college, and my older sister had dropped out.
Oh.
And eventually I ended up dropping out as well. But yeah, this movie actually made us think about life in general. And for a quote unquote 80s college movie cliche, I'd say that says something. So, I mean, and plus the jokes in there were some of got me laughing so hard. So I don't think this movie is that bad. Oh, which movie are we talking about? Oh, we're talking about Monsters University because Doug Walker didn't like it.
I wonder what he thought of an extremely goofy movie.
Oh, and spoiler alert, that's my next episode, by the way.
Oh, rock on, man.
Because I need to let everyone know about that. One of the reasons why I think that film is pretty good, and it makes a good finale to Goof Troop, is that it captures the spirit of going to college to a T.
That's true. I have seen that movie. It does have a few cliches. That much is definitely true, though. But I didn't think it was that bad, as some people have complained, and I've heard a few complaints on that from fellow YouTubers.
I don't remember what he said about it, but I do remember a few things that he highlighted as really good, like Goofy reminiscing in the beginning or something like that.
Yeah.
Chris has got one for us. Got another one, Rotten Tomatoes thoughts on first Fast and Furious. They all complain about the CGI, and I think they use the CGI right, like in the street racing scenes, how we see under the cars. I haven't seen Fast and Furious, so I'm no judge.
I saw the
seen
first
a couple of the films in the franchise, but not the whole series.
I've seen one, and that was enough for me. It was kind of okay. I did see movie 2, though, and that was all right just because of Ludacris. He was awesome. But the rest of it, I keep watching these trailers, and I go, come on, stop. This has gone far enough.
And I can't believe it's reaching the double digits.
I know. What is
How
it about
many-
this that keeps going?
How many Fast and Furious movies are
It's
there?
reaching
Almost-
number 10 this year.
Yeah. Yeah. And, and also another one, Mission Impossible. I think that's almost 20 now, maybe 27. I don't know. I
Actually,
can't understand.
it's more like 7.
Really? I thought it was
Let me
more.
see. Let me see. Let's see. Okay, the latest Mission Impossible film, which might be like 4, 5, 6. Yep, it is movie number 7 this year.
Oh, I stand corrected. Then it's approaching 10 as well. I stand corrected. But either way, I
Well-
don't see what the big deal was. The first one was boring beyond belief.
At least their theme song was cool, though.
Well, yeah, and that's straight from the original TV series as well. And that's one of the few times that they got something right, That and there is one scene that everybody just loves to echo, and that's the part where he's in that room where he can't touch the floor, and of course he's drops down and he has to catch the ball, beat a sweat, which was echoed in Mouse Hunt and used in some other things. No, wait, it wasn't Mouse Hunt. I'm sorry. It was Casper's Spirited Beginning. Even though the old haunted house, there's no way it had pressure sensors on the floor. Come on. This guy just watched too much of that movie. That's all there was to it, story-wise. But I think that was the gag, really. But yeah, that's where you get the cliche thing about them coming in through the ceiling, which was echoed in pop culture like crazy. I'll admit it was a very iconic scene, so I could see why, but still, it's like, wow. Right up there with The Matrix. Whoa, I'm going slowly, bending backwards, and going around. Sorry, going around, doing that. And that's the movie right there to me. I don't see what the big deal is. I'm sorry, I just don't.
Sky Stub, a ludicrous my respect for the legend, Chris. Uh-oh. I heard they plan to make a Fast 10 a 2-part, so this year is just part 1. How many times are we going to get a part 1 and 2? I mean, I think a few movies are worth that exception. I mean,
yeah,
in a way. I mean, The Hunger Games kind of earned that part 1 and 2, and I think Harry Potter, the last one, did earn a part 1 and 2. But
if Spider-Man 3 was done right, it would have earned a 2-parter.
Yeah.
If it was done right.
That one, yes.
The Avengers deserved a 2-parter in the form of Infinity War and Endgame.
That's true. That's true too.
But yeah, it's movies like this and Twilight that I think do not deserve a 2-parter.
And why a 3-parter for The Hobbit? Like,
that movie was originally supposed to be 2 movies, but
yeah, I remember
apparently, he got greedy for 3 because trilogy. Everybody likes the trilogy.
I am still curious about the upcoming Wicked 2-parter.
That one I could see as a 2-parter, and I look forward to seeing how they could do it.
Yeah, that's why I said I'm curious about it.
I don't know.
Hobbs and Shaw was better with action and storyline.
It's part of Fast and Furious, so
It's been a while since I've seen that in theaters.
I only know it by the commercials. They made it very obvious and very clear. So yeah.
Jace Watch, I agree. Spider-Man should have been Spider-Man 3 should have been a 2-parter. I mean, I take a look at the fanscription of what if Venom wasn't in Spider-Man 3. Yeah, and that was a really good one. Honestly, I would have been down for it if the fanscription was the actual movie. Chris, or Sky's Dove, I watched it with my pops. Chris, well, from the trailer, it's gonna be time travel.
Oh, come on. They've been doing this way too much.
How many time travel movies are there?
That are good.
Back to the Future was good. Endgame was good.
Yeah.
Cinderella 3 was good. those are
What
the
was
ones
that
I can
movie?
think
What
of
was
off
that
the top of my
movie?
head.
X-Men: Days of Future Past. That was pretty good. And technically, if you want to count the time travel scene from Deadpool 2, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, just because of what he did, that's all. You know?
Yeah.
man.
By killing Ryan Reynolds when he was reading the Green Lantern script and killing his original Deadpool form.
Guys, okay, I think this is where I'm going to have to slightly disagree. I don't think that Venom was good necessarily. I mean, I give credit that Topher Grace gave it his best as Venom, but at the same time, I don't think he's what makes the movie awful. I mean,
He's
this
part of it.
movie really could have, a Spider-Man 3 could have been a lot better. I mean, heck, even Doug Walker actually said it best that they don't focus on the torments that the Venom suit is giving Peter Parker. And he actually brought up a good point. Why didn't they go with the iconic dream sequence that was, I mean, that haunted Peter Parker when he had the suit?
I don't know.
So, yeah, instead they just make him look goofy and just what the heck?
That was bad.
I mean, and of course, there's the infamous dance scene. But if we took out those moments, I think that the movie would have still been pretty good. I mean, because it had
I
a
don't
decent
think so.
storyline.
I don't think so, Chris, because you know a lot of people really love what. Yeah, see, yeah, because a lot of people love the Tom Hardy version. That was very
Oh, yeah.
well done. Not 100% true to how it all started, but considering you know how they're trying to branch away from Spider-Man just to get away from the Eric Foreman approach on that one. I'm going yes, and that's another thing. Everybody knew him as Eric Foreman, that skinny little guy who dated a beautiful redheaded girl who was so far out of his league. You know, he was typecasted. He didn't have a chance. He really didn't. That was another thing. And I'm sorry, but the costume, although it was pretty well made, you know, I mean, the Venom costume to a point. As for him constantly screaming and the gold fingernails, which is definitely not Venom, and he's not. And the other thing is the character problem. He's not referring to himself as two people. He should be saying we. He doesn't even call himself Venom. So, and he was barely there for about a good 5 or 10 minutes, which was a real kick in the face for fans everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So,
You got one, Joshua?
I think I lost my train of thought. I'm just, can't think of anything else too much.
yeah. Been there. I kind of had something on my mind, but I forgot what it was now. So,
I think I've got one that you'll like, movie fan. Kind of. And this is a Watch Mojo. Okay, so during Christmas time they came up with a list, top 10 Christmas movies that aged poorly. And they put the Rankin Bass Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer on them. On there.
Got to be kidding me.
And says that it inspires bullying nowadays.
Well, that's baloney. That is baloney.
And what number spot did they put that on?
I think they put that at number 5 or 6. I forgot, but
well, at least it's not at the top, though.
Yeah, I'll go with that. To be fair,
yeah, but at the same time, no. In fact, you know what? I'm gonna quote that moment from Scrubs and go, wrong.
Yeah, it was Rankin Bass's first stop motion special, but still.
Yeah, I mean, because as a kid, I pretty much
want to talk about that, bro.
Because pretty much as a kid, when I heard the song, it inspired me that no matter what happens, one day I'll come out on top. And while still working on it, I've been climbing. And this is, and it doesn't inspire bullying. I mean, people come up with that on their own without the help of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. This is just something that happens to the character. And eventually Rudolph keeps on being himself until eventually Santa Claus says, "Will you help me with my sleigh tonight?"
Yeah. However, I will say this though. John Goodman, who was Santa in the 1998 Rudolph, is better than Rankin Bass Santa still.
Hmm.
How so?
Well, because you know how in that special, when like he goes like, "Unless the nose goes, no way Rudolph's joining my team."
Yikes.
Yeah. Good point.
Something like
That
but-
part. Okay, I'll
Well,
admit I
John
didn't
Goodman
like.
as Santa goes like thinking that Rudolph's nose is grand, and he says what counts is what's inside our hearts, despite that
That's
we're all
for sure.
on the outside.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah, that is slightly better.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
no,
that's
a
fair.
lot better. And I didn't like that Santa anyways. That version of Santa and the Rudolph Red-Nosed Reindeer anyways. But at the same time, I don't think the special altogether is that dated
Nah.
in that way.
Although I still question, how did he go from thin to fat like that in just a few hours, so to speak?
Yeah.
Well, his wife did say something that he hasn't been eating enough.
Well, yeah, but it's just just before they were singing that Santa's Elves song, when Rudolph and them return, he was thin. Then when they go, oh, he's plump.
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder how. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Watch Mojo's running out of ideas. It's about time. That's all I can say.
Pretty
to that.
much. They've been repeating some of their lists.
Yeah, and I'll tell you
Right.
this. There was one time that this was one that I totally disagree with them on because they clearly did not do their homework. And that was talking about an episode of Frasier when they were talking about characters on television that you never see their faces. And the Niles' wife Maris got number one on that list, and rightfully so too, because you never saw her, you never even saw an arm or anything. You just had varying descriptions over the years. But here's the thing: they claimed that when you last heard of her, that she was, well, the police were after her for killing her boyfriend. That's how it went. But here's the thing: they claimed that she fled to a private island where they couldn't exonerate her. Or extradite her. Extradite, that's it. Where they couldn't bring her back for trial. But that's not what happened. Here's what really happened. The police deemed her as a very obvious flight risk. They froze her accounts and they threw her in jail so fast that she couldn't make her escape. And Niles said that she was constantly calling him from jail. She said that somebody stole her shoes in the cell next to her. How is that a private island if you are clearly in jail? Clearly, they didn't do their homework. That's all I could say to that one. And, it doesn't help that a lot of the time they do what Wikipedia tells them to do. That's the thing. And that really gets on my nerves because, oh, yeah, Frasier was a great show. I don't like that they're trying to reboot it, but yeah. Yes, they're actually trying to reboot it, folks. God help us all.
Though I do like, I do like some of their lists, like the top 10 worst changes from movies to books. Because I had a list of things that they forgot, and also did a few other people. And I also like some of the things that they said, especially with the top 10 worst 2021 movies. I like one of the things, they put Home Sweet Home Alone at number 10 and had somebody, or the guy on Watch Mojo was shouting the same thing that was in my head. Can we please leave the Home Alone franchise alone?
Touché.
And speaking of which, that's going to lead to Ebert's review of Home Alone 3 that I disagree with. So he likes this movie, and he thinks that it's better than the first two Home Alone movies. I'm not kidding. He also thinks it's less violent. Oh yeah. I guess he forgot that scene where the kid activates a lawnmower and sends it right on the criminals.
Gee whiz.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems less violent than paint cans to the face.
Oh, and don't forget the parrot lighting off firecrackers, and the one guy was in that igloo.
Yeah,
Although that was still funny.
How much of this movie did you watch, Roger Ebert? But to be fair, the only thing I'll ever like about him liking that movie is Siskel's reaction.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
What was Ebert taking? What was Ebert taking something out?
I don't know.
I think he might have been.
I don't know, but I'll tell you this, I did like that movie, but it was definitely not better than the first two.
Absolutely not.
I mean, I know a lot of people have hated this movie, but the way I see it, Home Alone 2, Home Alone 2, Home Alone 3, Home Alone 4, and I'm reaching my foot on that one. And Home Alone 5, I'm reaching the center of the earth right now. Enough said.
Nice.
I want to watch number 6 then. It breaks the rule. What this movie does, it breaks the rules of John Hughes, which was there was a deleted scene in the first movie where where Harry gives his reasons for hating Christmas and wanting to rob on Christmas. And he's like, we got to get rid of that scene. That makes him way too sympathetic. And I don't want the audience sympathizing with the criminals. So, yeah, he got rid of that scene. And the 6th movie makes us sympathize with the burglars and root against the little kid. That's not how it should work.
Nope.
I'm not a fan of the third Home Alone at all, but
it was entertaining.
Roger Ebert saying that it's better than the first two movies, that it got the formula of kid versus burglars right. Even Siskel was like,
yeah.
It was exactly my reaction. But yeah, okay, so I think the second Home Alone is the best. I don't know it. I think it's more nostalgic, and I feel like it was more of a challenge for Kevin. I actually think so too. I like Home Alone 2, and that's another thing I'll disagree with about maybe half the critics on, including Roger Ebert. This movie actually, it may have recycled. I mean, it did recycle plots from the first movie, but it put him in the big city. And what are you supposed to do when you're a kid in the big city with these two burglars on the loose?
Yep.
So yeah, it's kind of. I mean, it's fun. It's fun to imagine, and also scary. And admit it, guys. Anybody watching, you also laughed when Tim Curry had to get on his knees and say to the television, "I love you."
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that was still funny. I still love the scene where he's got that blow-up clown in the shower, and he's got his uncle's recording. Get out of here, or I'll slap you silly.
Oh, God.
It's so funny. And Tim Curry's running.
And when the Nostalgia Critic did a review for that movie, he actually he added in a joke for that one. As soon as the tape recording finished, "Get out of here, you nosy little pervert, or I'm gonna slap you silly." So the Nostalgia Critic added, "You all better get the irony that I'm frightened by a clown."
Yeah, that is so true.
Oh, have a lovely day, Tim Curry. Like,
Yep.
I guess.
Joy missed my TMT comment.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1
Oh,
and
I'm
3.
sorry.
1 through 3, sorry.
Oh, look at the I mean, I haven't seen the movies. Oops.
It's
How
true,
are the
bro.
reviews for them?
It's true, but I have.
Mhm.
Movie 1, classic. Movie 2, still pretty darn awesome. Maybe not as classic, but still awesome. Movie 3, it's the most hated one of all, but I still don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. I think a lot of people have greatly overreacted on that one.
And
I mean,
we've
granted,
both seen worse.
yeah. I mean, one thing is the Shredder's not in it, so and I get it. I mean, what's the Turtles without the Shredder? Oh wait, TMNT, the CGI version, no Shredder.
Well,
But
they say
anyway,
the Shredder's dead, but the foot is still
yeah,
there.
yeah. And at the same time, there's one thing about the third movie compared to the TMNT movie that let me try that again. And there's one thing about the third movie that supersedes the TMNT fourth movie, I'm going to call it, because in a way, it kind of seems to piggyback. Because at the very end, you do see a samurai helmet on Master Splinter's shelf. So that kind of hints at something. But anyway, the key thing is, at least with movie 3, you did get some good martial arts action. With TMNT, you barely get any time with it at all. Just barely when that one time they fight the monster, Raph versus Leonardo, that's pretty much the most epic moment there. And when they're fighting the foot, you barely get any time with that at all. And that's the truth, especially with Master Splinter. And that was a real shame because they had Mako play Master Splinter. Mako.
Yeah.
I mean, his voice was perfect for him. And, they gave him nothing. Literally nothing. They gave him one good joke where he's saying that he's going to watch his stories, and you can tell he's watching soap operas because he's saying, like, I just know that Charlene's going to break up with Jimmy any moment. It's just that hearing that from a master like him, that's just funny, But, and it's still better than Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Don't ever see that, folks. Don't ever see it. I saw commercials. I wanted to throw up. It's that bad. Especially when Master Splinter's a fat rat who just sits down and watches TV the whole time. With a very cliche Japanese accent. I am still here.
I wonder how the upcoming new one's going to be, though.
I don't know. That's the big riddle at the moment. That's the big riddle.
In fact, I think I'll just ask this just for the heck of it. Which is worse, the We Wish You a Turtle Christmas or Michael Bay version?
I've already had my experience with the Michael Bay film, not the Christmas one.
You don't want to watch the Christmas one, trust me.
I've mostly seen clips, and yeah, Joshua, you don't want to see that. The most I would recommend, watch our review on the comparison between that and the Star Wars Holiday Special. That's all you need. I'm not kidding. But anyway, yeah, for that one, oh boy.
Lots of
yeah, you asked me that, Bonnie. You asked me that when we did that too. That's a lot, girl. Jeez. But I'll do it again.
You're
anyway.
welcome.
By comparison, the Christmas special is worse.
Sorry, you had to go.
The costumes are horrible. They're very poorly made. The mouths do not go in sync with the voices. Their teeth are constantly going like this. And they're constantly got their mouth open. It was just bad that they do that. And plus they got stereotypical Brooklyn accents. I'm Fonzie, yo. Exactamundo. They didn't say it, but they might as well have. And Master Splinter.
It really looks like a hairball caught down in a train pipe.
And the voice actor playing him, I'll give him an A for effort. He's trying to sound like an old rat. That's about all I can give him. But fortunately, he didn't have too much screen time to be an issue. Compared to the TMNT version, where he looks like as somebody, I can't remember who that was, described him as a boiled hot dog with a robe on.
What the
Yes.
heck?
Yeah. He looks downright horrible. And you can't learn martial arts from a book. It
That's
does not work that way, folks. I
That's
know I've said it before. You gotta be trained by a master, or get into a few fights, and then you'll figure out what works and what doesn't work. That's how martial arts began to begin with. That's the truth. You go to battle, you learn what works, what doesn't work. It's all trial and error and a lot of experience. It is not done by, oh, I know how to ninjutsu kick now. Or we could go with, just for the heck of it, the Matrix version of downloading Kung Fu into your brain. Oh, and I still can't beat up Lawrence Fishburne. But anyway, yeah. Yeah.
What else?
Oh, and
do we
that
do?
reminds me that I finally got it. I got one that I was wanting to call out.
Uh-huh.
This isn't really so much of a critic kind of thing. It's more like some fan theories that have come up over the years. One of them would be the most ridiculous one, that Disney's Tarzan and Disney's Frozen are connected because Anna and
That's just-
Ilsa's parents are Tarzan's parents, in fact.
That's just nonsense.
It
Even
is
the
not.
second movie has disproved that they died at
Exactly.
sea.
And
Yeah.
plus, they're both based on different novels.
And time frames, very important there. Time frames.
And
Yes,
Um,
that too.
and most importantly, they had. I mean, well, Tarzan's parents had last names or different last names.
They
Yes,
did. Greystoke.
Greystone. Well,
Oh,
Frozen's
Clayton,
based off the
actually.
Snow Queen, and where one of the main characters was a villain, and
Yep.
So yeah, they're not related whatsoever.
No, and the
Yeah.
key thing, and they don't even look alike. They don't. They don't even.
exactly.
I know Disney has recycled looks over the years, but they don't even do that for these characters. That should be a clue.
I mean,
And-
I'd sooner believe that Rapunzel was their long lost cousin than I would believe that that Tarzan was their long lost brother.
By comparison, that is more believable. By comparison. And that brings me to another one. And I don't know if anybody's ever heard this stupid theory before, and it is dumb. Not as dumb as that one, but pretty bad. The theory about cars. How is it that they are what they are? The theory is that the cars were built by humans, and I'm not making this up. Somebody actually said this, and it got on the internet somehow. I think Watch Mojo quoted it as like a dark theory kind of thing. But anyway, yeah, the theory is that they felt that they didn't need us anymore, so they just ran us all over, and our souls got trapped in the cars. Yeah.
Sounded
Yeah.
like a dark. It sounds like a dark version of I forget what the Steven Spielberg movie is.
I think I know the one you're talking about, but can't think of it. off
The
the top.
one where that car is alive, and
Oh
and
no,
no,
you're
it's-
thinking Stephen King, Christine.
Stephen King.
Yeah.
And no, it's not Maximum Overdrive. It's the other one. Christine. Yeah, it sounds like a dark version of Christine.
Yeah, and I'll bet you I know where Stephen King got that idea from too. I'm not kidding. He probably won't admit it, but there was a TV series back in the 60s that went for barely half a year called My Mother the Car. I'm not making this up. This really existed. Yeah, this one guy's mom, somehow her soul is in a car. I don't know. I never seen it. I just read about it. It exists. But you'll never see it on MeTV because it was that bad. And no, it didn't even last for, I think, barely a few months. I think. Just like Cavemen, which I'll be talking about later. But anyway, moving on. Getting past that one, the funny thing, there is a simple logical explanation for the Cars scenario, and it's right in the end credits, and nobody's seen it.
What is it?
It is clearly another dimension where cars are people. Because at the end, you get Mac watching Pixar movies, and there, of course, obviously he's bringing up the voice actor who's playing him and all the characters he's played, like Ham and let's see, what was
Flea or the Abominable Snowman.
That's it.
Oh
and
yeah.
notice, yeah, exactly. And notice how in every one of them, it's the same movies, but they're cars and monster trucks and that. Duh! It's another dimension. Simple. Another dimension where cars are people. They so told us that at the very end. And some bozo is saying, cars ran over people and they
No.
trapped their souls in them.
Well, they'll come up with any kind of theory.
Yeah. Yeah.
Heck, one person came up with the theory that Blues Cats Blues was Tom and Jerry's final episode because in that one they both kill themselves.
I'll give them that one. I'll
But
give them that theory.
That was not their final episode.
No.
But it was their most disturbing, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, so much so that these days they cut out that part. It's just they're there and you maybe hear
Yeah,
a train.
I mean,
That's about it.
So that's not really
But
how
you
they
don't see
end.
it coming. Yeah, and there's no argument here. That was disturbing.
Mhm.
But yeah.
And I've got one. Okay, so this is a YouTuber called Jamboree. And for his worst Disney sequels list, he put Return to Neverland at number 3, and not just put it up there, but he absolutely hated this one because he really felt like that that the movie was saying that kids should always play even during war, and he hated it because his grandma grew up in the war, which, okay, mad respect that she made it through, but
Yeah.
I don't think that was not the movie's intent at all. I mean,
No.
it was not intending to make this character Jane play all the time, even during the war. Yeah, she had given up her childhood and her faith in it, in the childhood, but that's where Peter Pan comes in to help her. In a clumsy way, it does try to help her balance out being a child, but yet still surviving the war. If they brought in both subjects, I actually said this for my top 4 best Disney sequels, that if they had an ending where where Jane and her brother Danny get on the train to evacuate London, still facing the war, and yet she still looks up at the sky and sees Peter Pan flying, and she's like, "I'll always believe in you," and tells Danny the Peter Pan story, that would work somehow, or that'd be a lot better, because the movie ended a little too sappy.
Yeah, and having Edward return from being drafted, that was
Yeah,
kind of quick.
that was way too
Yeah.
quick. So if they ended with facing the realities of war, but yet still holding on to childhood and faith in this case in Peter Pan, that would make a bigger difference. But I felt like this sequel really tried. It was clumsy in a few areas, but it was a really good one.
Yeah.
And it was a strong effort that they put in, and I think they had they really did not try to say, "Oh, play even when you're in war, never grow up." That was never their intent. So, mad respect to your Nana, Jamboree, but unfortunately, I think that you missed the mark on this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
The writers didn't bring any effort. Oh, which one?
Maybe Pan 2003.
Oh, Peter Pan 2003 is a really good one.
Oh no, he might be talking about something else because
Oh,
earlier.
Peter Pan 2. We were talking about Peter Pan 2.
Return to Neverland, yeah.
I'll admit I haven't seen that one, to be honest. I only saw clips and I thought, I'm sorry, but when you try to make the third Spider-Man, yeah, they didn't bring any effort to that at all. They really didn't.
I
That's what
disagree.
I'm talking
I
about.
see some effort, but I also see where they where they went to the wrong area too.
Yeah, okay. Especially after how movie 2 they practically hinted at the idea of him becoming Man Spider. In a way, they did. You'd have to be more familiar with that than just me telling you, though. Because one of the symptoms before he mutates into Man Spider is he starts losing his powers. So, but yeah, and I was thinking to myself, oh, movie 3, that might happen, but no, it didn't. So,
By the way,
it's
if you don't want to see Return to Neverland, that's okay. Not missing too much, but
it's all
I
right.
I
Nothing.
definitely recommend seeing the moment where Peter and Wendy say hi again.
Yeah, maybe I'll look
Because
that up.
easily that was the best moment.
And also, Kat Susie's voice as Wendy was just wonderful.
I'll have
So
to check that part out.
though I am disappointed they didn't. I mean, that Catherine Beaumont did not come back for that voice.
Was she alive at the time?
She
Yes,
was.
she
She
was.
still is.
Oh, that's good to hear. Well, not just the comics, bro. He was also in Spider-Man the animated series. That had almost a 6-part episode there, almost. In a way, because it tied in. But yeah, come to think about it, I wonder why they never brought him to life yet. Oh well, maybe someday. But
Maybe he might return in the next Spider-Verse film.
that'd be kind of cool to have Man Spider come to life.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, let's see. I know there was some... Joshua, you got anything to?
Well, I want to answer something that Jay's Watch has already said. I mean, and it's something that's another franchise that I kind of have a little bit of a connection to. The Swan Princess.
Oh yeah.
Okay. We know that he doesn't agree that it was a bomb, but it was because it was being kind of, well, The Lion King got more audience than that film did.
That's
I mean,
true.
They're both good movies, but
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And for the record, when a movie's a box office bomb, it doesn't I mean, even Animat said it. It doesn't necessarily mean that the movie itself was a bomb.
Not
Right.
always, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
it's just
this is
the
one
amount
of the
of
box
audience.
office bombs that actually was a good gem.
Yeah, look at Alpha. That was a great movie, and unfortunately, hardly anybody bothered to see it. So,
Heck, The Wizard of Oz itself bombed when it went to theaters, but later on,
well, with
we
all
all know it
fairness,
for the gem that it is today.
the Depression might have had a hand in that too.
Yeah.
Well, that and also it was up against Gone with the Wind, so
Yeah, and
that was
I
a
think
bigger movie.
I still think that movie's overrated. I'm sorry, I really do.
Mhm.
But that's just me talking.
I mean, actually, it's a pretty good movie.
I just
It's
don't
a
see what
story.
everybody saw in it. I really don't. Other than, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. First time anyone said a cuss word back then. So
Yeah, and well, it was huge with the technology. It was
oh
I,
yeah,
it was
sure.
one of the most popular books at the time, and
Yeah.
well, what else was it?
Clark
but-
Gable.
Yeah, and well, let's be fair. It's probably one of the few times that you'll actually see. I I won't say it because I don't usually. So it's one of those times where you see a vindictive lady. Or no, not vindictive. It's where you see a spoiled brat get what she deserves
Oh yeah.
ultimately, and also well, it's about a spoiled brat surviving the Civil War.
True.
But it's
True.
the spoiled brat getting what she deserves that everybody loves. The new She-Hulk show threw me off. Whew!
I saw commercials. I had nothing for it, but I don't have that.
I was not
channel either,
interested
so.
though. I saw the Disney December for it, and I'm like, whew.
Yeah, Marvel did miss a golden opportunity with
Oh.
Man Spider there.
Though She-Hulk did reference something from an earlier movie, though.
What was that?
Wong's fight with that evil Hulk.
Red Hulk?
No, the other one. The The one from the Incredible Hulk.
Oh, Abomination.
That's him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, the She-Hulk show references that, like Wong's fight at that fight club in Shanghai or wherever it was. Like, it's the one where Shang-Chi's sister ran.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Boy, let's see. Trying to think. Let's see. Anybody got anything else? Hi, George.
George.
Yep, he's busy playing.
Run up, Georgie.
Yeah. Oh, he walked away.
Oh.
Eh.
Here. Let me see if I can.
Ow. Oof, man.
What the? No. Okay, movie fan. Can you remind me what audience score is when it comes to Rotten Tomatoes?
For what exactly?
Well, I mean in general, what that usually means.
Well, an audience score usually means what the audience thought of it. You know, if they liked it or hated it, usually.
Oh
Or
no.
I think they go on a like level, but you know, I always assume that when it hits 50%, I mean, at least 50% of the audience liked it. And if it's above, well, there you go. If it's below, well, yeah. So,
Guess what I found is at 74% on the audience on the audience score of Rotten Tomatoes.
what is it?
Fairly Odder Parents somehow has 74% on the audience score. What is wrong with you people?
Oh! No. Somebody's lying here. Somebody is lying. There's no way that's for real. Because I remember quite a few bad movies where they claimed that the audience score was high, and it was a lie.
Like what?
I can't remember exactly, but as I recall, it was some. I can't remember exactly. Let me see if I can find one that's total garbage here.
Oh crap! I really hope that that's a lie on here because, oh my gosh, I don't recall a lot of people who even liked that show.
Let's see. No, nobody did. That's why it just got canceled.
Good riddance to bad rubbish. And here's hoping that everybody finds good work.
Yeah.
Including the kids, especially the kids. They gave it their best.
Huh?
Oh, I was just telling, or just told Movie Fan that apparently, Fairly Odder Parents has 74% on the audience score. I don't even know how that's humanly possible.
Goodness sakes.
Yeah. I know, it's beyond my understanding. Gee.
I've seen only a couple episodes, and I did look at a few more, by the way, and I don't even know how this is humanly possible. This is like if the writer of Artemis Fowl was completely behind the movie that Disney made.
Oh, I stand corrected. Well, you know, on second thought, maybe I'm looking in the wrong asking the wrong questions. I cannot remember what movie it was I was thinking when I saw a rating for it that was just that bad. I mean, that they were claiming was good, but it was definitely not. I just looked up the remake of the remake I despise the most, The Day the Earth Stood Still. And the audience rating on that is 27%, with a bucket of popcorn turned over. That usually means they hated it. And thank you. But I'm surprised.
I could tell you a review that's a lie on the movie cover. Cool Cat Saves the Kids has has a lie quote on there. Derek Savage put in the Derek Savage himself, the director, put in a quote claiming it was from Dove Productions, and Dove Productions clearly, they actually said they never heard of him.
Well, that says it
So
all right there.
he was the one who's lied about it.
Yeah.
And by the way, that movie sucks.
I'll take your word for it.
You want to know how bad it sucks? Check out the Bob Show review.
Ugh, I'll take your word for it.
Sky's
Oh, that's some good news. Yeah. Ooh, very good news. Hopefully this will mean the end of this soon.
what?
Velma season 1 has 42% on the Rotten meter and 7% on the audience score.
Oh boy.
That many people hate it, and it still continues. Let's hope it'll die soon.
Unfortunately, I actually heard something, and I posted it on Movie Thoughts. These clues suggest Velma 2 may be on the way. Sorry.
I heard. Yeah.
I wasn't interested in seeing that when it was advertised, so I didn't bother watching Velma.
I never even heard of it until my friend Professor Dreamer asked if I can do a rant on it or a reaction. I just completed that, and that's probably the shortest reaction I got. I couldn't even watch the whole. Spoiler alert, folks! I couldn't watch the whole trailer.
Oh crap!
Yeah,
I actually
it makes me
saw
so
the
glad
trailer,
I don't have
and
HBO.
I'm not even a Scooby Doo fan, but
I never liked Scooby-Doo, give or take.
nobody seemed to act like themselves at all. Nobody,
That's for sure.
or at least what I remember of the characters.
Yeah.
And the animation on some of the characters, Velma looked good, but the other three looked awful.
I got a feeling there's a reason behind it. I got a feeling the reason behind it is woke. Just a theory.
Well, aside from that, it's like, and they changed Shaggy's appearance as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, he looks awful. Fred looks awful. Daphne looks awful. What the heck? Velma's the only one who looks good, and in the live action movie, I thought that she was better looking than Daphne, anyways.
Yeah, I'd rather watch those two films along with the classic series, or even Ghoul School, Zombie Island, not the sequel, or Witch's Ghost, or even Reluctant Werewolf, than Velma.
Yeah.
So, I guess question out there, because I guess I'm into this. If you had to choose one or the other, or which one could stay, Fairly Otter or Velma? Sorry.
I hate to say this, but Fairly Otter is not woke, so I would rather put up with that. So
I cannot answer because I haven't bothered watching either of them.
We saw the first episode of Fairly Otter. It's horrible. We did a live stream on it.
In fact, to quote Family Guy, I'm tough. I made it halfway through Fairly Otter episode 1. Done.
Yeah. Yeah. Granted, we had to stop because YouTube started to block me. But fortunately, I managed to salvage the footage, and just re-air it as if it was live. But like we just redid it. That's about it. But yeah, that was the reason why we had to stop, was because of that, because we couldn't use too much footage, because it was, which of course brings up the other issue with YouTube. The fact that everybody else gets to do that, but when we do it, we can't do it. Yeah. Because we don't have the fame or the so-called funding that somehow they're getting to do this. I mean, look at Cinema Sins. They get movies that literally just come out.
Well, even they got the copyrighted and the Nostalgia Critic actually did a whole video called "Where's the Fair Use" for a long time, or for a while.
Okay,
Not
yeah,
just
for a
him,
while.
but other critics were also talking about where's the fair use.
Yeah, for a while he did have that problem, but then he also claimed for years he didn't have sponsors, but now he's got sponsors. And
This was in 2015, actually, so
Yeah.
he was in the middle of. I mean, he was sponsored,
yeah,
but people were still canceling him for no reason or taking
Yeah.
down his videos for no reason. Even
Yeah.
when he complimented movies like My Neighbor Totoro.
Oh, that's a good movie.
Yeah, and he complimented it, but they somehow took down his review of it.
Probably the use of the footage. That's probably what it was all about.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it
and I
was,
just can't understand why Nazis got me when I didn't even use any footage.
what?
Yeah, back in November 2014, when I blogged the Curse of Princess Ivy from Sophia the First, when I didn't use any footage at all, they struck me for no reason.
Uh,
You didn't call them Nazis, did you?
That's what I described them like.
I mean,
Yeah.
well, because I remember real Nazis. I mean, it's not just a throw around word. I mean,
well, no, I can
It's a
say
real
that
thing.
for sure.
Okay, just
sorry.
Ever
I-
since that moment, it hasn't been.
I mean, it is frustrating.
ya.
I mean, what they're doing
it
is
almost
wrong.
broke me down that time.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, man. Heck, we had problems when we were doing our Legend of Frosty video. I had to go and clip up the footage a little because they were blocking me for all the garbage we called out.
Mhm.
The excuse was the footage. I can assure you, I checked it and rechecked it, but it was like, oh brother, they were just trying to silence us. That's all it was.
Mhm.
Because I mean, we called out all the garbage that they brought up, and boy, do I mean
At
garbage.
least it wasn't Derek Savage. He'll silence anybody.
Yeah, true.
Well, I just don't know what their excuse with me was, though.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm sorry.
So am I, man.
Well, I guess let's get back to get back to pleasantry. Okay,
Yes,
so
let's.
or kind of pleasant.
Mm.
So I'm going to disagree with Siskel and Ebert again for putting Hocus Pocus on the worst list.
Really?
They didn't say it was the number one worst movie, but
No.
they thought it was pretty bad, and I get it a little bit, but at the same time,
Maybe it's because of the release date was kind of too soon.
that, and I mean that was one of the reasons, because it did come out in June instead of September, or October, thanks to Nightmare Before Christmas. But at the same time, they thought that the movie was not for kids and not for adults. And I get the not for kids part, but at the same time, there are some parts that do make me uncomfortable, but for the most part, anytime that that Midler and the other two witches are on screen, it's just too much fun.
Yeah, I mean, Bette even said that her role as Winifred was one of her favorites.
Mhm.
Yeah. That does bring up one for me, the one that I saw last year. It was somebody, it was last year. Somebody rewatched the Grinch movie, the Jim Carrey version, and he brought up all the kind of messed up adult-oriented things in there, which, there was quite a few of them there. There's no arguing with that, and what they were, yeah, definitely. But there was one that I can't help but say that I think he overreacted on, and it was the scene where he calls out. Well, when the Grinch is making his escape after he burned down the Christmas tree, and he calls for a taxi, and we all remember how that goes. Taxi. It's because I'm green, isn't it? And he was saying like, oh, that's just horrible. I mean, he was basically doing a racial joke. And it was about racism. And well, in a way that may have been partially true because, the old story that there's an old story that taxi cabs don't pick up black people. But the thing of it is the Grinch knows very well that he's not picking them up because he's the Grinch and because of what he has done. That's what that's why he said it. He was being sarcastic is what he was really doing.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious while he did it.
And even Doug Walker said that he found that line hilarious.
Yeah.
And he doesn't like the movie.
Yeah. And again, he was just being sarcastic. He wasn't trying to make a racial thing out of it. Now, if you want to talk about stuff like that, let's talk about
Or
the
maybe
stuff
it was
that.
not something he had in mind.
Well, maybe not. Maybe not. I mean, if you want to talk about racial jokes, how about Men in Black 2, where Will Smith says, oh, they had a black guy behind the wheel, but he kept getting pulled over. That was definitely a racial thing. Oh, and yeah. Oh, yeah. And of course, it's okay when a black person says it, but when a white person makes that joke like that, or a guy in a green costume, let's say, oh, it's bad. But truth be told, I think this guy really kind of got into that because it was just last year. What happened in 2020 and what has continued to happen. That's what the deal is. So, yeah.
And
I mean, he was nice about it, but still, it's like, really, man, come on. He's clearly being sarcastic. It's because he knows what's the real deal. That's all.
So regarding the Grinch, that's definitely where I'm going to have to disagree with a lot of the critics or a lot of the major critics about it because most of them didn't like it. Ebert didn't like it. Doug didn't like it, and so forth.
Let's see what Rotten Tomatoes says about it. I'm curious now.
About 50% or so. Which,
Really?
to be fair, is about half.
Yeah.
So that's not terrible. And though Doug Walker did come up with a perfect ending for his review of The Grinch, where he finds that
that's not the one I
people
want.
still like it, no matter what he said, and I think it's a cool ending.
Yeah,
and honestly, it's still my favorite. It's still my favorite adaptation of The Grinch. And shout out to Doug Walker for being able to do the entire review in rhyme, even if I don't disagree all the time.
Yeah.
Dr. Seuss is on the loose.
Yeah, it's funny.
Ebert didn't like it, but then again, he didn't like most of the Jim Carrey movies, most of them, where Jim Carrey had full reign of it, like the Dumb and Dumber movies. I guess Siskel and Ebert saw Jim Carrey the way that most people see Adam Sandler. So honestly, I think that I think Jim Carrey was a lot better. I mean, Adam Sandler, for the record, is a good actor, but
his comedy can be a bit immature.
And Jim Carrey, my acting teacher talked about this. Is the way he improvises, and it's always on the fly, always in character, and so forth, and catches every one of the actors off guard.
Really?
Shout out to Watch Mojo for making the top 20 Jim Carrey improvised moments, because man, I couldn't stop laughing and looking at that.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey was one of the greats indeed. Jonathan.
Yep.
Kudos to you, Jim Carrey. Thank you for the awesome movies.
Totally.
And it doesn't matter if it doesn't matter what everybody else says, because you know what? We look back now and see that maybe critics like Siskel and Ebert were not ready for you. And that's actually a theory I came up with when Ebert reviewed Monster in Law.
Hmm.
And Mrs. Doubtfire, which is another, which are also movies that he didn't like. And I think that those two movies were ahead of their time,
I think so.
possibly because I Roger Ebert didn't like either of those movies because they were, I mean, he didn't like the jokes that were in there. They were uncomfortable, which okay, I could get, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I Monster in Law had probably one of the funniest slap fights I have ever seen. And I mean, just look it up on YouTube. I just couldn't stop laughing. And Mrs. Doubtfire, good grief. I mean, how could you not love it?
Yeah, I know.
Or at least love certain parts of it.
I mean, I rented that film a few months ago, and yeah, it was really good. I mean, it was pretty charming.
I still remember seeing it in theaters. We were all laughing our heads off.
And that's easily one of, and that's some award-winning makeup.
Definitely.
I mean, you cannot even recognize Robin Williams under that latex.
Yeah,
No,
next thing you know, in 1996, he would reference Mrs. Doubtfire in the third Aladdin movie.
He did, yeah.
So
when trying to cheer up Jasmine.
So I think it's a possibility that critics like Siskel and Ebert were not ready for these movies yet.
Could be.
Perhaps.
I think maybe if they had the chance to look back now, I don't know. Maybe their opinion would change. I don't know.
It's possible.
In fact, actually, that should be a challenge one of these days. If critics could look back maybe 10 years ago, what do you think of the movies that you gave negative reviews to now? Or even positive reviews to movies now?
It's a good question.
Change your mind or anything?
Perhaps. Who knows?
Heck, I think Animat will look back at his at his Emoji Movie review and where he slams Sony and says, "Shut down your worthless studio." And he's probably gonna take that. No, not probably. He's gonna have to take that back because, well, the next year, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse came out, and that was easily Sony's best movie.
Mm-hmm.
So
next, Mitchell's versus the Machines.
So yeah, I think that.
And then, of course, the Venom movies.
So every critic's, a challenge to every critic watching out there. Is there a review that you did 10 years ago that you look back now and want to change your verdict on? Or have softened up your verdict on?
Yeah.
I mean, one that I do know is Doug Walker. Originally, he did not like Matilda, but looking back later, he really likes Matilda. He likes how dark it is, and he likes the actors and Danny DeVito's direction in it, and that Mara Wilson is a good actress in it.
Yeah.
So there's that. There's that look back. Anybody else willing to look back?
For me, it depends on what it is, but then again, I just said that I would prefer the Michael Bay Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles over the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Holiday Special. That speaks for itself, doesn't it? Even though that is so overdone and everything in between. But let's just say I might ease off a little, but that's about it. But anyway, that brings to mind one that I remember some years ago. And this one's actually a local critic did this one in my town. It was the movie Red Tails. Ever seen it?
Never heard of it, I don't think.
Oh, too bad. It's a good movie. Well, this is a World War II film that came out. It was directed by George Lucas, or produced by him anyway, maybe both. It's not exactly clear to me, but he had a hand in it. It was about the 332nd Fighter Wing, better known as the Tuskegee Airmen, the first all-black fighter group of World War II. And they were legendary. You'd have to know the history behind it and all that. It's pretty incredible. But to make a long story short, they were brought in as what they called an experiment, because think of the time frame here. So they were. It was 1942. I don't know what to tell you. It can't be changed. But anyway, they were brought in on this because, well, Eleanor Roosevelt insisted on giving black people a chance to fight for their country and all that stuff. And she was a driving force behind it. It's no secret, but there was maybe a little bit more to it than that. But she was a driving force. Anyway, besides that, one critic he didn't seem to like the movie for some reason, and he was bashing the banter that was going on between what was his name? I'll have to look that up in a second here, but he was bashing one of the characters. It was a general. It was a scene between a colonel and a general, and they were just talking about, the general was saying about how much he obviously hates black people, how they're the lowest life forms on the planet, that sort of thing. And he was not talking about like what a SOB this general was. No, he was just talking about the banter that goes on between them. He called it dull and boring and stuff. And I'm like, you have clearly not watched enough military movies, sir, or been in a military family. I mean, what? Just because George Lucas directed this or produced it anyway? Were you expecting a lightsaber battle between the two or something?
That would have been awesome.
I'm sure a lot of people would have loved that just because, but no, there's just no way.
Yeah, especially if this is based off of history.
Yeah.
You gotta tell it as it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
and even then, there was some exaggerated moments, but I would know. That's about because I know their story pretty well, especially since I come from a military family, and there's a scene where they literally destroy a cruiser. Thanks. With where one plane destroys a cruiser with machine gun fire. That is impossible, I can assure you.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, well, I'll just leave it at that. It made for a dramatic moment. What do you expect? It's Hollywood. They love to do stuff like that, even if it's not true. But yeah, like I said, that's Hollywood. And this one is a far superior film. I've reviewed this, and I reviewed the HBO movie, The Tuskegee Airmen. And the HBO movie, it was good for the time because back then HBO was on a somewhat limited budget. Nowadays they pretty much got free range of everything. Heck, they got Game of Thrones. Enough said there, because the budget for that, obviously. And I've said my piece on that one. Enough said there. We all know the real reason it was popular. Why HBO movies, or HBO movies in general are popular. And it's not exactly for their story. I mean, it's part of it, but let's get real. We know what it's really about, and I'm just going to stop there. But anyway, for this one, that movie, granted, it was on a budget at the time. I think it was just meant to be that way. I don't know. But they talked about mostly the racial issues. That was their whole movie there. And it was boring to me. It was interesting, but it was boring at the same time, especially when you read about everything that they had accomplished. They were there to guard B-17s that were going to bomb Germany and, other important bases and all that stuff. And here's the key thing. When they were guarding those B-17s, they never lost one of those B-17s. That was a very big deal. Because, there was a time that they thought that those planes could handle themselves, just without fighter escort, which was proven to be definitely not true at all very quickly. But, and unfortunately, when they had fighter escorts, most of the time, the fighters would just leave them to go after fighters that were just, just like get their attention, and that's it. Whereas for them, they stuck with them all the way from the beginning to the end. And a lot of men came back alive thanks to them. And it's those acts of heroism that should have been acknowledged in the first place. They mention it, but you don't see it, partly because of the budget. But the other part is they keep focusing on the racial issues. Whereas for Red Tails, they bring up the racial issues just a little, mostly with the colonel talking to the general. And of course, there was an incident at a bar. That's about it. But for this, they focus on what really mattered the most. So yeah.
You know, like, I've sort of come to think of it. There's one other film that's kind of partly negatively received, but still very praised for how it's done.
What's that?
The 2004 Phantom of the Opera movie.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's kind of funny, isn't it, that it's negatively received and yet still praised.
Yeah.
I mean, I said that to me the only thing that
Coming back.
they could have improved would be just the duel between Raul and the Phantom. That if they reversed it, where the Phantom had Raul on the ropes, that would have made better sense rather than Christine just saying no, to
Yeah.
Raul stopping Raul. But that's just me. The rest of it, I thought was pretty darn good. Regardless, I love that entrance. That was beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Mhm.
Hi, Liam.
Hey, Liam.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
And also that flashback scene, which I don't think existed in the stage version. I mean, that was pretty thought-provoking.
It was, wasn't it?
So I
It
can
was.
definitely see what some of the critics were talking about. At least concerning concerning Christine and the Phantom. Because Emmy Rossum's a really good singer. She really is, and I think she does capture the innocence of Christine, though she definitely is. I mean, she could be a little more operatic.
Yeah.
And she's not really belting it out. And Christine's supposed to be a soprano belter,
Yeah.
and Gerard Butler. I mean, kudos to him for giving his best about with singing, but you could clearly, or he does. I mean, compared to like Michael Crawford, he doesn't sound angelic. He
No.
sounds like a demon in the night. And he's supposed to be described as the angel of music. When you hear that voice, what do you think? Do you think like, yes, I want to be closer to that voice, or do you think, ha?
I'm not really sure on that one myself, to be honest.
I mean, that's just my opinion. But I do disagree with some of the critics on some of the things about Phantom of the Opera. Yes, I think they could have done so much better, but I like some of the ideas they came up with, like I like what's her I like the Phantom going after, I forget what the guy's name is, but
Joseph Uke?
yes.
Ah.
That was a good sequence, and they do show some of the ballet. I like how they show some of the sets and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. It brings to mind some of the criticism I've heard from Les Miserables over the years. Most of them is always around Russell Crowe, and I get it. The guy's no singer and all that, and he did, unfortunately, because he really was no singer and he couldn't hold that. He was no baritone either, which is kind of what Inspector Javert was. I get it. That he ended up breaking tradition, and a lot of people were really mad about that.
Well, that and also he doesn't really carry much emotion when he's singing.
No,
he
he doesn't.
Bland.
He doesn't. That's true. But and I can go with that for everybody. But the irony here is, I think he did a better job with the song "Stars" than most of the Inspector Javerts I've ever seen. Even the original man himself. I mean, don't get me wrong, he was fantastic, but that song never stuck in my mind until I heard Russell Crowe sing it. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the tempo or something. Maybe it was the setup. But and there's quite a few times that people complained about how parts were changed up, like how Stars should not have been where it was. It should have been later, after he just narrowly missed, catching up with Jean Valjean without realizing it, when Thénardier remembered him, that part. But, and I get that. And there was quite a few things where, they cut out a lot of the descriptive moments. Maybe the director's cut, if there's a director's cut, maybe they got it. I don't know, but it's just sometimes so many parts were chopped up in the songs that a lot of people were really mad about. They said it really butchered it, and it wasn't necessarily critics; it was fans. Me, I was more forgiving because that's Hollywood for you. They always take an artistic license on everything.
You still want to patch
Yeah,
up a few segues, make sure it
yeah,
makes
you do.
sense. And to be fair, most critics, here's one change that most critics actually seem to like.
Mm.
And that's when I Dreamed a Dream is not sung once Fontine's fired, but actually when she becomes a prostitute. It's
Yeah,
actually more heartbreaking when she sings it at that moment.
it does belong there. And there's another scene that I like too that was changed up, and that was the part of "Do You Hear the People Sing?" Traditionally, that is sung right after "Red, the Blood of Angry Men." And in this case, there's a pretty good gap, and they use that to when they get to the funeral of, what was his name? General Lamarck. And that's when they start singing "Do You Hear the People Sing?" Now that makes perfect sense. That's why it works for me. Because, for the stage, you got limitations. I mean, we all know that. There's limitations as to what you can do and when you can do it. But, with this one, they were able to pull that one off. Although I do wish they would have kept some other lines in there, though. But that's just me. It wasn't that song that was butchered at all, I don't think, but there were quite a few. I hate to say it, and I remember a lot of people liked the addition to the new song "Suddenly." I thought
Mhm.
it was kind of befitting, actually, myself, to be honest.
Yep.
Although it did feel a little strange to add a new song to a classic like that, though. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But
John,
then again, hmm? But then again, but like I told you, Joshua, I did the play in high school, so I know it pretty well. Boy, that was a great experience. I remember it like it was yesterday. Yeah. Yeah, and I even saw it when it came to my town. In fact, it's coming again this year in March, but unfortunately, I got to hold up. I got to say no to this because I got bigger things coming up. So,
Jonathan says, despite a few nitpicks, I still love Andrew Lloyd Webber's The Phantom of the Opera.
Hmm.
And Skystub says Jim Carrey was one of the greatest. He really was.
yep,
Hope he has a great retirement.
me too.
Let's see, what else? Here's one that I'm going to disagree with, and this is with the latest Razzies, as well as a few critics that have recently. I'm guessing you haven't seen the Disney's live action Pinocchio yet, movie fan.
No, I haven't.
Okay, that's fair. So most of the critics don't like it, and Doug Walker's come close to liking it, but not all the way there either. And Adam Mack does not like it at all. Claims it's one of the worst, though honestly, I've seen a worse remake. And it's now on the Razzies for worst actor for Tom Hanks, worst director for
Robert
Robert
Zemeckis.
Zemeckis, and worst supporting actress. I forget the actress's name, but not the Blue Fairy. Basically, I don't think it's that bad. Honestly, I've seen more effort in this remake than I have. Than I have in another. And also, if Eddie Pinocchio deserves to be on the Razzie nominations list, why is Pauly Shore's Pinocchio not on the Razzie nominations?
Yeah, I agree. Like that film is even the real worst compared out of the three.
Pauly Shore should be nominated for worst actor. Tom Hanks at least gave a good performance, and and even some of my friends who don't like this movie agree that he was the best part.
Yeah.
I had no idea Pauly Shore did one.
Oh,
I mean,
I-
that was like the first out of the 3 Pinocchio films from last year.
yeah.
Oh, that explains it.
So basically, this is literally what Pauly Shore's Pinocchio sounds like. And this is one of his lines: "Father, when can I leave to be on my own?"
Oh boy.
How can you
Well.
take that seriously?
No.
I mean, he's serious. I mean, for every take that he was in, he sounded like he was waking up from a sleep while still drunk.
Jeez.
I mean, he legit sounded like that. And so far,
Straighten
the
up,
nostalgia
bro.
critics put it on a so bad it's good list, as well as Animat has. I don't know. Maybe that's why it's narrowly skipped the Razzie nominations. But really, I mean, Tom Hanks gave his best for this performance, and I don't think Robert Zemeckis was that bad of a director for this either. I mean, if I had to pick a worse actor or worse supporting actor for that movie, I would pick the Fox, because he wasn't that good.
Keegan-Michael Key?
I mean, he usually is a good actor, but there's just some moments where he just talks too fast in all the wrong moments.
Just want to interrupt here, bro. George isn't asking for food. I'm just playing with him with this string. So, but anyway, yeah. I mean, I haven't seen it because me and remakes, Bonnie, you know the story there. So,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I think I may know why some people hate this movie so much. It's because, with Disney and their remakes, what has it been
I'm
lately?
tired of them.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I will give it credit for one thing, though. I've seen a couple clips, mostly the Monstro scene, which is a little hit and miss for me. Because I'm sorry, he's supposed to be a whale, not a mutant monster.
And the tentacles are so pointless.
Yeah, exactly. He's not. Yeah, exactly. He's not supposed to be a mutant monster.
I mean, I actually saw when I saw him with the tentacles, I'm like, what is this, Sharktopus? This is bad.
Oh, I hate that movie. Actually, every Sci-Fi Channel movie I hate. It's garbage. It really is. They all are.
By
But
the
anyway,
way, since it's a remake,
okay.
since we're doing talking about remakes, I mean, I'm gonna give a what the haystack, Disney. Because I mean on something else regarding remakes. So during the Super Bowl, we were promised a Little Mermaid trailer, and then at the very last minute, a few hours before they were supposed to show it, they pulled back and said, "Nope, sorry, we're gonna hold back the trailer until late March, early April."
Goodness.
What the hey, Disney? We're
I don't
excited for the. I mean, most of us are excited for the Little Mermaid reboot. So stop pulling on our strings like that. Stop teasing us.
And also, if you think the remakes are silly, like when I was at Disneyland yesterday, I saw some posters that seem kind of opposite to what's going on. Like when I saw these in the queue of the new ride, they just made like animated cartoon versions of some of our favorite live action films. Like these posters are parroting that.
Oh, brother. Well, I don't know, man. And I will give the Pinocchio movie one piece of credit, though. They showed that you can actually make the character look like he did in the original movie and make it work. Because he does look like original Pinocchio. I give them a lot of credit for that.
And also the actor playing Pinocchio, he's British, but he actually put in an effort to sound like the late Dickie Jones.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Double credit to him.
Yeah. Ninja Gaiden. I don't know, bro. I mean, maybe that's too complicated of a story to cover. Besides, you know how it is when they come up with movies based off of video games. Which brings up to one praise I give Watch Mojo. Yeah, I actually give them a small praise. They were talking about worst movies based off of video games list, and they said how they were caught between Street Fighter and Street Fighter Rise of Chun-Li, because you'd have to have seen both films to understand it. But what the problems were, Street Fighter I didn't think was bad at all, but Street Fighter Rise of Chun-Li, oh yeah, that was bad. But they did say one big thing that really saved that bumped Street Fighter off their list on that one, because they said it was pretty close, but there was one thing that saved it: Raul Julia playing General M. Bison, because that was his last film before he died. And yeah, it was, because at least with him, he comes off like we would expect him to be, compared to General M. Bison wears a business suit and he's just a corrupt businessman in China. Ooh, that is so not him. But like I said, I give him credit for that one, because Raul Julia did save the day on that one, on that list. And truth be told, I thought the movie was actually pretty good. It did have some hiccups, but you name me a movie that doesn't. There's no such thing as a perfect movie, and there never will be.
Yeah, though there's also another film that's based on a video game that's also very bad. Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within.
I knew it. I knew that movie was garbage when I saw it with the bad CGI, and people
And they
constantly
made it
looking
more like a terrible post-apocalyptic sci-fi film.
How bad was the CGI?
Constantly we see this one woman. Okay, you remember how you ever seen Ocean's 11, the first one? No? Oh, well, there's a scene. Well, one of the main characters, the CGI is this one girl. I never did see the movie. I saw the trailers. That's
Dr. Aki Ross.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Her
Played by Ming-Na Wen.
Yeah. Oh, really? I didn't know that. But anyway. Yeah, the CG, I mean, granted it was, when was that? About 2000-ish?
I think it was 2001.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So CGI was just, as we all know, Toy Story is where it all started, and CGI was starting to kind of come into its own. But it was like the CGI on that was, how do I put this? I mean, it was pretty
dated.
Yeah, let's go with that. It was dated. By comparison, original Toy Story's animation is more advanced. Yeah. And at the same time, I keep seeing this stupid look on her face like all the time, which I saw Julia Roberts do a lot in Ocean's 11. And I'm like, what the heck? I mean, really? Really? I mean, it was either like, or something like that. It's like, really? The only thing that might be able to top that would be Mirror, Mirror.
Yeah, and also another weird thing regarding that film is that the creator of the Final Fantasy games, Hironobu Sakaguchi, was part of the crew.
Oh, no.
So
I never played Final Fantasy, but oh, no.
Yeah, Hironobu Sakaguchi messed up his own creation with that movie.
That's sad. That is sad. Yeah, and who could forget Super Mario Brothers, the movie from the 90s.
Even Bob Hoskins and John
Leguizamo
had to. I mean, they pretty much were drunk to get through.
I heard about that. It's all true. I mean,
well, at least Illumination will do better. I pray.
Fingers crossed.
It looks promising from what I can see. Right now, I'll admit I'm more interested in the Transformers movie because I love the Predacons and Maximals.
Please be as good as Knifeformers.
And well, I'll just say this kind of as a critic, or previously from criticizing Jack Black. So sorry.
Oh yeah.
Because ever since Gulliver's Travels, I've always judged Jack Black to be a bad comedic actor, but movies like Kung Fu Panda and Jumanji and this new Mario movie all have made me apologize. So
yeah,
I'm very sorry, Jack Black. You're a really good actor.
And he's also a great singer when it comes to rock and roll.
Just
Yeah. School of
just
Rock.
don't touch Gulliver's Travels again, please.
Oh, please
Um,
don't. I, that's a movie that, it never seems to come out ahead. I don't know what it is. I mean, the see, who was it that did that first? Well, one of them anyway. I remember the Three Worlds of Gulliver that covers the adventure side story. It's not bad. I mean, it's not that perfect either.
Well, there's
Then,
also there's 2 other Gulliver travel films that I know about.
yeah, there was
I mean,
one
aside
made.
from the Jack Black one, there was also one from the 30s, which was animated.
Yes.
The same style as Snow White.
I
It
grew up
Yeah.
with that one.
Disney though, and
What was his name? What was his name?
and there was also that other animated Gulliver's Travels film where he's on an island inhabited by giants.
Oh,
And
yes,
yeah,
that's
that
right.
was one of the travels that he went on.
Yeah,
I-
and there was a kids movie back in the 90s, and boy, that stunk.
And there was also the one in 1999 that actually played on a theory that I wondered about. If he had to defend himself before court for his sanity.
And of course, there was that black and white one starring Mickey Mouse.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Um
Cute idea.
Jace Watch. I still kind of disagree on the Thomas and the Magic Railroad 2000 even.
Max Fleischer. That's who it was.
Yep.
The animated one was Max Fleischer.
Mm-hmm.
He means the one from the 30s.
Yep, 1939. I don't know how I could have forgotten his name.
And
Oh, well.
it looks like it's getting a little late.
Yeah.
Should we start wrapping up?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
I mean, though this was really a lot of fun.
It was.
And want to give a shout out to everybody who had joined us on the online chat. Sky's Dub, Jay's Watch,
Yep.
Liam. It's so great to see you.
And Chris.
And Chris. Yep. Thank you all for joining us. And well, for anybody who's missed chatting with us live, you could go ahead and put into the comments for yourselves. What were some reviews you disagreed with, or did you disagree with us? And that's okay if you do, because we're not always going to agree on everything. I mean,
Nope.
I don't agree with Movie Fan about DuckTales. I don't agree with Joshua about Lady and the Tramp remake. So we all disagree in different ways, but at the same time, you know what's the best part? We're still friends.
Got that right.
Because not everybody who you don't always have to agree to be friends. It can always be different. And I think that's what made people like Siskel and Ebert, Doug Walker, Matt, what's his last name from
Brunette.
Animat? What?
Matt Brunette's his real name.
Brunette, Matt Brunette, the people at Watch Mojo, Jamboree and Jello Apocalypse, Musical Hell, and so forth.
Yeah.
Having your own point of view, and sharing it with the rest of the world. And each of you have different ways of sharing your point of view too. As long
Peace
as
out,
you're
bro.
civil about it. So thank you guys very much for joining us, and thank you, Movie Fan and Joshua, and for a while, Jonathan as well, for joining us.
Always a pleasure, Bonnie.
Yep.
Yep.
Was.
We can always agree to disagree, folks. Let that be a lesson to us all, because ever since 2020, it's just been a mess. We'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. But there's nothing wrong with agreeing.
Tartarus.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with agreeing to disagree.
Mm-hmm. So with that, it's Bonnie saying good night, everybody.
It's Movie Fan signing off.
Mustang Power.